Hey guys, Muffin Bear here. So I just wanted to do a video today about my experience getting diagnosed with autism later in life as an adult. I've spoken quite a bit about this on my Instagram, and I've had a lot of questions about how I got diagnosed and just about my overall experience. So I thought I would do a video on it and explain it all. I'm a bit nervous about it. Some of it's very vulnerable. I'm not the best at communication, especially with big life things and personal things like this. So I'm going to do my best. I have got notes here, so if I'm looking down, I'm just looking at my notebook. And I'm also really terrible at eye contact, to the point that I'm also I can't even look at the camera. So yeah. Anyway, this is my story of how I got diagnosed with autism late in life. I'm Petra. I'm 34 years old and I've only recently been diagnosed with autism level 2 at 34 years old. A lot of people have asked me when I first suspected that I might be autistic, and honestly, I never actually suspected that I'm autistic, ever. It came as a huge shock to me, to be honest. And a lot of people have also asked how I went about getting my assessment, and I will cover that answer in my explanation, in my story. So yeah, the truth is I never suspected in a million years that I'm autistic. Never imagined I would be. I went my whole life believing to my core that there was something fundamentally wrong with me. That I was broken. I've had a lot of mental health challenges through my life, with a lot of anxiety and PTSD and stuff like that. So I just thought that was part of me being broken. And I had tried a lot of medications and none of them had worked. I've done a lot of therapy with a lot of different therapists over the years and nothing was helping, because it turns out we were trying to treat a problem that didn't exist. I had been greatly misdiagnosed. What happened to leading me to getting diagnosed? So what happened was, at the start of the year, we had a lot of big life changes happening as a family, and it was all good, it was all positive, but I wasn't coping very well with all of the changes. It was just such a big, massive change, and I was really struggling with it. And the extra load that was on me was a real struggle to deal with as well. And I ended up having a massive breakdown because I was just so exhausted and so stressed and just was not coping. I had a huge breakdown to the point I was in a full-on actual mental health crisis. It was very bad. So I went to my GP, my doctor, for some help. I have had a lot of struggles with anxiety and PTSD before, so it wasn't an totally out of character thing for me. I just really was not in a good place and I really needed some help. So they referred me to a psychiatrist for a full mental health analysis. After a few sessions with the psychiatrist, they came to the conclusion that my previous diagnosis from previous psychiatrists and psychologists was very wrong. Yes, I have anxiety. Yes, I have PTSD, but I do not have OCD. I do not have panic disorder. I do not have dissociative disorder. I do not have this huge long list of disorders that I had previously been diagnosed with. What I do have is anxiety, PTSD, and complex PTSD. And she was also, without doing a full assessment, she was quite confident to say that I am autistic. While all that was happening, I had also been working with a psychologist, just working on some trauma. That was a lot to deal with as well. But after it had been raised that I might be autistic, I spoke to my psychologist about that, and we decided to put a pin in the trauma, working on the trauma stuff, until after we had done an autism assessment, because if it turned out that I was autistic, then we would have to approach my trauma therapy in a different way so that I wouldn't become more traumatized, if that makes sense. So we started the process of getting my assessment done. There was a bunch of questionnaires that I had to do. There was an interview that I had to do, and with my parents as well. All while this was happening, my 2-year-old was also getting assessed, and he was diagnosed autistic level 2 as well. So he received his diagnosis literally 2 weeks before I got my actual diagnosis. So I'll just do a quick recap. So had a breakdown and was in a mental health crisis, saw my GP, who referred me to a psychiatrist and psychologist. The psychiatrist brought up the potential that I'm likely autistic, so I got my assessment done with my psychologist. And turns out I am autistic. I feel like I'm making it sound simple. I do realise that I'm in a privileged situation where I have been able to receive a diagnosis. I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of people on Instagram about my diagnosis and how I got my diagnosis, and that they suspect that they might be on the spectrum too, and they don't know how to get their diagnosis. I would say if you do suspect that you might be autistic, and you do want to get an assessment done, go talk to your GP, go talk to your doctor, or if you already have a psychologist, you can talk to them, because it's likely that they might be able to do the assessment for you, or they can at least refer you to someone that is able to do a referral. Yes, unfortunately it is very expensive, but if you can do it, it's worth it, because it's good to know officially. Like it's just good to know who you are. It's just good to know who you are and why you are. Like getting emotional. There's been a lot of feelings. As you can see, my eyes have feelings coming out of them. It's such a relief to know that there's nothing actually wrong with me. I've spent my entire life believing to my core that there is something fundamentally wrong with me, and that I just must be broken because I just don't fit. I don't fit in the world. I don't have a place in the world. And now everything makes sense. My whole life makes sense now. It makes sense to who I am. And it's just nice to know that I don't have anything wrong with me to fix. Nothing needs fixing. I'm just different. And that's okay. My brain's different, and I think differently, and I need different supports, and I have different needs, and I see the world in a different way, and I experience the world in a different way, and that's perfectly okay. And it's such a relief to know that I'm not broken and there's nothing wrong with me. I'm just different. But I've also been feeling a lot of sadness and anger around all of this because I'm very obviously autistic, and it doesn't make sense to me how it was missed so much. It was so overlooked, and that makes me sad, and it makes me angry that I've had to go my whole life hiding, because I'm a very, very high masking, and I have learnt to suppress myself and hide myself, mask myself as a survival mechanism so that I can survive in society and social situations. Because it's just so scary being around people, and I've always been ridiculed for being myself. I'm now learning that it's okay to be myself because I'm just different. I'm just autistic. I'm not weird. Okay, maybe I am weird, but it's okay. Also, I've been feeling a lot of grief, about my identity, who I was, who I've worked so hard to be, and who I thought I was going to be, who I could have been had I have known earlier that I'm autistic. I have a lot of confusion and a lot of grief around that. Since being diagnosed, I've been learning as much as I can from as many resources as I can, not just to better understand myself and my own support needs, but so I can know how to best support my son and his needs. And also just to be more knowledgeable and supportive of other autistic people and to help advocate for them too. This world was not set up for neurodiverse people at all, and it's hard. It's really hard, and it can be hard to communicate our needs. I have a lot of trouble communicating as it is, and I have especially a lot of trouble communicating my needs, but I'm always one to step up if I can to advocate for others, and I've been doing a lot of that for my son recently, obviously because he can't speak for himself, he's only 2, and there's a lot of other people that have trouble communicating too. So I've been learning as much as I can, been watching a lot of videos on YouTube, reading resources online, on autism websites, been reading a lot of books. talking with my therapist, obviously, a lot about it, just to help me understand better and to help me through this big life transition. A book that I have been reading that I found really helpful is this one. It's called I Am Autistic. It's written and illustrated by Chanelle Moriah. I hope I've said that correctly. She was also diagnosed with autism late in life, and she made this book from her perspective, and it's been really, really interesting. It's been very, very helpful to learn about autism and being autistic from someone who was late diagnosed autistic as well. And it's interactive too. I love the way that it's set up. Like, it's just really beautifully illustrated, and it explains what things are, what the traits are, and it gives an understanding of it from her point of view as well. And it gives you space to write your own experience with that trait, which I just think has been really cool. And if you guys are interested, I was thinking about doing a little series on each trait and my experience with it, using this book as a resource to maybe help you better understand, not just as a autistic person or a potentially autistic person, but as a neurotypical as well. It can help you to better understand neurodiverse and autistic people that you might know or come across at some point in life, and you might be able to use that knowledge to better support them and interact with them better. Anyway, let me know what you think. I hope this has been helpful. It's very scary for me, but I hope it's answered some questions and you've found it helpful in some way. Thanks for listening to my story. I'm very bad at outros. If you've ever seen my videos before, you know that I'm very bad at them. You can find more of my content on other platforms. I'm mostly on Instagram. I'll leave the links below. But you can find me pretty much anywhere at Muffin Bear Diaries. And I also have a blog where I write a lot about gaming and movies. Yeah, so terrible at outros. If you like this, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe if you like, if you want to see some more content. Stay hydrated, do something that makes you happy, and I'll see you next time. Bye!